This is part 4 of Revelation of Truth. It's the most difficult portion of my story to talk about. Um, I've got a rather long list of things I want to talk about. Um, I might miss some stuff. Images I want to show you, that kind of stuff. I was just thinking, did I put the images of the letter to my daughter? I don't think I did, but I will read it to you at least. If it's in the third one, then you'll just have to hear it again. Okay, so I talk about my pastor a lot. There's something I want to say about this so that when he watches it, he doesn't think that I'm confused about this because I know I'm not confused about this at all. I call him a pastor. Now, he is not necessarily a pastor. Okay, he preaches, but in a Church of Christ congregation, now ours was a little different though. In a Church of Christ congregation, there's no specific pastor with his wife that lead a congregation. It's not a singular one in a Church of Christ. They have deacons and elders and those sort of things, but my congregation didn't have that. And the reason why is because in order to be a deacon or an elder, and I'm not going to get into the scripture of what that's about, and I do understand, is you have to have your kids are full grown, they're the followers of God, and there's certain qualifications that you have to become a deacon or an elder. And then it's not just up to the people to become that. There's like a like a selection process, and people in the congregation can agree upon, do we want this specific person, this man, to join in with the other elders, with the other deacons, not a singular person, to lead us. There's qualifications in that. And my church congregation was so small, and the children that were in the congregation were still minors. So we didn't have that in my very small congregation. We didn't have that. And so what the people who were the leaders, they weren't qualified, not qualified as, but weren't qualified. They didn't have, as far as what scripture will tell you, they didn't have their children were minors. We just didn't have it. We didn't have it. But those men, they took turns leading and making decisions. They did. They had to. I mean, somebody had to step up and do it because they didn't have the leaders and the deacons and the elders. And so I want you to know that I do understand that. I do understand. And so when I call him a pastor, he's not a pastor, a singular pastor. I say pastor so that you can understand that when I say that this man is someone I looked to for guidance. But there are others too. But this man, he is no different than anyone. He has a full-time job. He has his own job. Works. They all worked at a job that was not the congregation. They did not receive money to preach. I'm not going to get into my beliefs or anything on that. I just want to set a stage for you to understand who this person is to me, to Patrick O'Neill. All right. And it's not an inappropriate feeling. I don't have an inappropriate feeling toward this man. It's not inappropriate. I looked at him like, I remember once we were sitting in he had tried to he hired a lawyer, and we spoke to the state attorneys, right? And I couldn't speak up because I'm in a group. I can't speak if I'm even like chickening out. I'm trying to talk to this girl to do these Bible studies and preach what I see to her, and I'm almost chickening out. I have to get myself the courage in order to proceed in doing that because speaking face to face to people, I struggle. That's why the videos help. I can say whatever I want to this computer screen, and I know people are watching it. But face-to-face conversations, I struggle. I really do struggle. I'm not as brave in person. Now, he said to the, I couldn't speak up, and so he spoke up for me. He said to the state attorney, he was like my big brother. And that's the truth, like a big brother. This man walked me down the aisle. I've said this. He's like a father figure. I've never had that in my life. He's the only person that I could say could even compare to that in my life. So that's why he's important to me. To the rest of the world, he's just an average Christian. He's no different than anyone else. Now, I want to talk about how that's why he didn't baptize me. I was baptized by Dave Campbell. And it wasn't till later on, I knew this while I was in that congregation. This realization came to me while I was still there with that family, that church family. This realization came to me. I just never said anything, but I realized this, what I'm fixing to read to you in the Bible. Then, there's a reason why he didn't baptize me. He didn't want me to idolize him. He's the one who was helping me. He knew he was helping me, and that's probably why he made the decision not to baptize me. 1 Corinthians chapter 4, what chapter am I in? 1 Corinthians 1 starts in verse 10. It says, I appeal to you, brothers and sisters, Paul wrote to the Corinthians, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you agree with one another in what you say, and that there be no divisions among you. There's a big division amongst Christian congregations in the world right now. That word division is a dissension, disagreement that leads to discord. That's the 2 Thessalonians verse, 1 through 6, where it says the falling away. WYC, First English Translation, the Wycliffe translation, written in 1382, the very first English translation. The word does not say rebellion. It does not say falling away. It says dissension. Dissension. And that word dissension means a disagreement that leads to discord. This fits in with my preaching of the 45,000 Christian denominations across the globe, all with a different doctrine, a dissension. But he says this, but that you be perfectly united in mind and thought, my brothers and sisters. Some from Chloe's household, so he's getting a message, have informed me that there are quarrels among you. What I mean is this. So he's saying, I'm trying to tell you that I understand what's happening. One of you says, I follow Paul. Another says, I follow Apollos. Another, I follow Cephas. Another, I follow Christ. Meaning, like the fear would be like, I follow Pat. I follow Patrick O'Neill because I talk about him a lot. There is a specific reason why I do that, and this video is going to clear that up. He's important to me. All right? He is a servant of God. He has showed me he's a Christ-like man. The whole congregation is, but he's the one who has stood for me when nobody else has ever stood with me. A father figure. So that's why he's important to me. And I'm telling you that God knew that. That's what's most important. God knew that about me and this man, that I felt this way about this man, that I understood something about this man. It's not an inappropriate feeling. And that is why God used his voice to pull me out of psychosis. Because he knew that I would trust this man. And he is the only male I have ever trusted. And that is the truth. The only person, the only male I have ever trusted in my life. That's why he's important. But he says, is Christ divided? But was Paul crucified for you? Were you baptized in the name of Paul? I thank God that I did not baptize any of you, except for Crispus and Gaius. So he's saying, I'm glad I didn't baptize any of you. Because if I had, then your idolization of me, as I'm Paul, would be more. You would idolize me more. People were casting lot for Paul's clothing, just as they did with Jesus. And Paul is trying to say, I am nothing. And I understand this. I may not have a good speech, a good tongue, but there's so much about brotherly love, about a lot that I fully understand. These are things I don't always talk about in my ministry because my ministry is focused on mental health, profits, AI, sin, the man of sin. It's a different message. It's the message that we're not talking about in church. There is so much that I do understand fully. I understand when Paul said, to live as Christ, to die as gain. I fully understand that verse. I wish to die. I would rather die. I don't want medical healing to heal me so that I can live. If I got sick, I wouldn't see doctors. I wish to go home. To live is Christ. To be Christ, to teach Christ, to show Christ through you. To be that example. But to die is gain. I wish to die. Not by my own hands, which is what those demons tried to get me to do. I fully understand that verse. I think that that's important to say. I felt that that was really important to say. Give me a minute. Okay, so I relapsed, left Camp Golf. All right. I ended up in jail again. I spent 11 months in the county jail, not an 11-month sentence, which you would only do 8 or 9. I did 11 months total in the county jail. They again wanted to send me to prison. A 14-month prison sentence is what they did. But there's like ways to get around that. I didn't want to go to prison. So my attorney told me, you're going to do 14 months. And so what they did was the day that I got sentenced, every day that I sat before that did not count anymore. That's like dead time. And then from the day I got sentenced on was 11 months, at 11/29. So it gave me a year, because once you do 12 months in one day, if you get sentenced to 12 months in one day, they send you to prison. But I didn't want to go to prison. So what they did was they gave me 11 months and 29 days. But the 4 months that I sat in jail waiting, 11 months and 29 days, the 4 months that I sat in jail waiting to get sentenced, it was dead time. It did not count toward my sentence. So that way I still did a 14-month sentence. So I spent 11 months in jail because I was on probation and I didn't fail a drug test. It's not the important stuff. I got in a fight with my husband. I was on community control when I left the home. And I got busted for being outside the home. But I still was using. It's important to say that. I wrote a letter to my probation officer and read it to him sitting there in his office. I never failed a drug test with him and told him that I was using drugs because I wanted to get clean. These things are the truth, and it is important, I guess, for you to know that I really didn't want to live that life. I literally wrote a letter to my probation officer, sat there and read it to him and admitted to using drugs. And that red flagged me with him. He sent me to because I didn't fail a drug test, he sent me to like outpatient counseling. I still never failed a drug test there, but I only went to 1 week of it. And then I got in a fight with my husband and I left the home. I got caught. So it violated my probation and I had to do the jail time. All right. When I got out of jail again, my husband had used the whole time I was in jail. And so I left him. My daughter was with him. He continued to use the whole time. He lied about it. He still uses crack cocaine. My husband still smokes crack cocaine. I'm still married to him. He's in New York. We're not in the same state anymore. We're separated. We're still friends. We talk. Yeah, we still talk, but he still smokes crack. 4 days after I got out of jail, I left him because he got me high. So after the drugs were gone, after that 4 days, I come home. He brought crack home to me. I'd been in jail for, what I'm saying. I left him. And it took me not very long to get clean again after that. It didn't take very long. I had to fight the whole, he wanted possession of me. He wouldn't let me go. He wanted to be with me. And I'm like, I don't want to be with you. I did lose my daughter again. This time she went to South Florida to live with her dad. So that was I lost her. I did get her back, but at that point when I did get her back, she's like an adult and she's out. So, this is basically when I lost her for good. She moved to South Florida with her dad and then they moved to Ohio. And like I said, when I finally did get her back, she's like of age of an adult. And that was it. She doesn't use drugs though, but I no longer have a relationship with her. But it's okay. I find peace in all of these things because I know something. I know that I had that dream that told me I would be on Olean's Lane. Um, Although my daughter was in that dream, but I don't think I could have made it through Olean's Lane without traumatizing her. So I think that she was meant to not be with me. I really believe that she was meant to not be with me because it would have traumatized her more than what I've already put her through. That was on my list to say about her not being there. Um, but I had purchased that land with the unemployment money that I got from COVID with my stimulus checks and the unemployment money that I got. That's what I purchased that land with, and that money is what I also started my business with. Um, Let me pause and see what I. It's going to be very difficult to talk about this portion of it. Okay, so when did I get clean? I got clean in 2020. Now, I'm trying to remember the day. You know how people hold on to days of I've been clean for 20 something years and da days. I don't know exactly what day it was. Um, I don't know. But it was before I purchased the land. Um, Now, it wasn't very long before it though. That much I know. And during my research of psychosis and stuff like that, there are studies that will say that it's like a long-term effect of drugs. That sure you can get clean and then later on still experience psychosis. That it'll hit you later after being clean. Well, I mean, I know I was clean at least 6 months before I really started like losing my mind completely. I know that. And I also know that there are people who have never touched drugs that experience the same thing. I know this. This is a study. I've studied these things. Okay. I've got articles and documents on my website that you can download, you can link to. I've got blue links where I prove and say everything I say, I can confirm. People do experience this without using drugs. I also know that I heard voices as a child when I was not using drugs, period, as a child. I never touched drugs as a child. I was a child, a little girl, talking to my stuffed animals. I heard voices back then. I talked about how I heard the voice through the washing machine at Camp Golf. I wasn't using at that point. That I was not using during those days that I heard it. Um, I just know this. I know that I've been sober for almost 5 years, of what's 2020, 2020, just 25. So it's near 5 years, 4 or 5 years. I still hear a voice. I still hear chattering. I still hear things. I'm stable. I got a job. I shower. I take care of myself. I help to take care of an elderly woman. I'm fine. I don't live in fear. I still hear voices. I hear a voice. I hear chattering. I'm still schizophrenic. I don't take psychotropic drugs. I've never been diagnosed. Okay, so let me just tell the story. I move on to Olean's Lane. All right, I'm working. I have a truck. I have a car. Um, I don't know how to tell this story. Things just started getting weird. I just started experiencing things. Um, it really began. I don't know exactly when it began. I know. I really don't. It's very. That's just saying. This portion is very hard to talk about. I would hear things in the woods. I would hear things. And, you know, you live in the woods, sounds travel. So I processed those thoughts, you know, like, okay, I'm in the woods, sounds traveling. Plus I got like right behind my house is like a 15-foot drop off. And there's like a river there. So water's, you know, sound travels in water. I process these things. It's got to be what it is. It's got to be what it is. And then weirder things started happening, like people would break into my home. There was a time that somebody broke into my home, and the only thing that was missing from my home was the DVR box. Now, I want to talk about that one, DVR box. Now, why was the DVR box taken from my home when nothing else was removed? And how does that even happen? This is where the effect, this is really where I believe, this is really where I started accusing the neighbors of actually like gang stalking me, because somebody did break into my home and they took the DVR box, which stores the footage. They didn't take any camera. Now, why did I get cameras? Well, I got cameras because I kept hearing things in the woods. And I was afraid. I mean, did I show the pictures of me living on, I didn't show Old River Road images, Olean's Lane images, Olean's Lane. I'm going to put that down. I'm going to pause it here in just a second, okay, so you can see what I'm talking about, how deep into the woods I lived. So I was afraid. I live alone. So I did that. But somebody broke in and took the DVR box. Now, why would that happen? Now, at the time, I thought because I'm starting to hear women and children and stuff, right? So I'm thinking that they took the DVR box because the cameras are up high. So they just broke in and took the box. It would be simple to do that. If you took the cameras, you'd have to take all 4 of them down. I could just replace them. Well, I could have just replaced the DVR box too. But I thought that they took it so that way I couldn't store what the cameras can see, and I would no longer be able to see what these people are doing out here in the woods. You know, if I saw somebody coming around in my yard or something, which it did pick up some of that stuff. I started to believe that. But what I really now understand is this. Those demons drove those people into isolation. Those demons controlled people and had them do certain things. Demons can make you murder. Andrew McGill's story I talk about in my ministry. Demons can make you commit suicide. Demons can control you. They can control things. There's more to it that's like almost unbelievable when you say it. There's things I've experienced that I heard a voice tell Donovan. Now, he told her to go bring her some cigarettes, right? I heard that. And I don't, that's back in the day, okay? And then 5 minutes later, I watched him act it out. What I mean by that is he came onto my property, knocked on my door, you know, and gave me cigarettes. And the only thing I could say to him was, "Who told you to do that?" Because I know what I was hearing. I was hearing spirits speak. And I thought that every voice I heard was a human person. And those demons said things to make you believe that it's a human person. They would mimic the sounds of people's voices, like Patrick O'Neill. They would mimic that. Now, you can do studies and you can see that people do believe that. People are talking about that, but can they prove it in scripture? I can. And that is the stuff our congregations are not talking about, which is why I missed it and why I suffered and why I believed it was a human and why when I saw the spirit on my DVR box, my DVR, I didn't recognize a spirit. I looked beyond the images of the spirits into the woodline, trying to catch people in the woodline when the spirits were right there in my face. And I still could not see them. I couldn't see them because I didn't believe in them, because I wasn't taught them. So why the DVR box? So I could stop getting images of those spirits. Here's where I'm going to stop for a second, and I'm going to pull that and clip it in right here. Okay, this image right here is my property on Olean's Lane. Where the red circle is where my property actually was. And the blue line is the trail that takes you down to the river. And you can see the river. I didn't put a line on it where it says Griffith Ferry Stretch. Anyways, there's a river right there. where that yellow circle is, there's like a I don't know how to say it. Like I've walked all through those woods. I've walked through every ounce or like inch of woods that you see on this footage. Um, I have I have walked, except for on the other side of the river or the other side of the road. But I've walked through all of that. And now where that yellow is, I want you to imagine kind of like swampy area where like you see these tall, tall trees. You're walking through tall, tall trees, and like the roots of the trees are kind of growing out of the ground and growing back into the ground. It's a beautiful area actually. But I mean these trees are like tall, like they're 15, 20 feet tall. So this is like a big hole underneath there. It's like a big drop off. And then you can see where the river was. So at first I thought that the sound, well, I hadn't completely understood what was back there until I started really hearing stuff and started walking through those woods. But I thought, the sound was traveling. Um, like I said, I walked through all of this searching for like doors and searching for the women. I thought that there was like a hidden house or bunker underneath my home. Where the red circle is my property. Now you'll also see. Let me stop here and put the other image. Now this image, these two images are part of the trail. The first one is just part of the trail that takes you to the river, and then the second image, which is this image here, is like the drop off. And you can't really tell because it's a picture, but this image is a hill. This goes downhill, like very, very, very. It used to be a lot steeper than this, but it goes. I don't even know how to describe it. I'm not a person that can tell you like it's 15 feet, like what the slope is like, but how deep it is. But it's deep. It's very, very deep. This image is my property. You can see my cars, you can see my houses. This is what it looks like after. The first picture with the trees is what it looked like before the land was cleared. It was already cleared when I purchased it. It had already had the power pole, the septic tank, and everything on it when I purchased the land, through a mortgage. But anyways, where the X is where I'm fixing to show you. I'm so sorry, I'm stuttering. I'm getting nervous. Where the X is on this image is the backyard, is what I'm going to call it. Where the next clip you're going to see the orbs, and it looked like snow falling in it. There's a video that I had stored on my DVR, and you can see my phone like recording it on screen of my DVR. And it wasn't until after this that my DVR box was stolen. And as I'm doing and watching this video that you're fixing to see, I didn't know what I was looking at. And it wasn't until after I beat Psychosis did I find the file, sent to my husband or stored somewhere. Okay, I had stored it somewhere. I can't really remember where that was at the time. And then I used a video processor to slow things down so that I could pull that spirit out of it. And I'm fixing to show that to you now. Now, this first footage, the image right here, this image is the thumbnail that I have to the video that I'm fixing to show you on my YouTube. But I want you to see that man. Do you see him standing there on the first one on the left? That is a spirit. Now I'm going to show you how I slowed it down and I pulled that man, that image, that spirit out of an orb floating around on my property. I show you how I slow it down. I use the video processor to slow it down. Now that is a spirit. That is a lost soul. Now the image on the right is like a goat face looking thing. You see the circle. That is a demon, and you'll see that demon floating there on the video that you're fixing to see. Now, when I was recording this with my phone, the whole time I'm looking through this past it. I did circle it. I don't remember if I did that after Psychosis or not. I can't recall. But I know I know this much. When I was recording it, I never saw it. I never saw it, but it was there the whole time. As I said, I was looking past it. I was searching the wood lines, and I wasn't looking at what was in front of my face. This stuff drove me crazy. The other thing I want you to pay attention to when you're watching the video is I want you to pay attention to there's 4 screens, and it only snowed in one section. And I mean snow, it's not snowing. It's in Florida. It's really not snowing, but these are orbs. These are spirits. These are the demons that travel to air places. I know this for a fact. Although during the days that I was going through this, during the days of recording this, I did not know what I was looking at. But pay attention. You will see the other 3 footages, the other 3 cameras on the side, and it's not snowing on those 3 sides. It's not. It's not. There's no orbs there, and it is recording the same time. All 4 of these cameras are recording in the moments. They should technically be the snow in all 4 of them. You see, I'm stuttering. Stuff is not easy to talk about. It should be in all 4 of them, technically, but it wasn't. And that's why I was recording it, because I was thrown. This threw me. Why is it doing this in this one camera, but not the other 3? That was the purpose of me recording it at the time, because I did not understand what I was looking at, and it was freaking me out. Now, the scratching noise that you hear in the background is my cat. Okay, that noise is actually from the recording. Since I'm recording over it, it's 2 time frames recording. That scratching sound is being scratched during the time of actually recording this with my phone. My voice is what's new about this whole thing. But what I want to say is, I want you to notice when you're watching it, as you're watching this, that even if it was rain, which it's not, because if it was raining, you'd see it in the other 3 cameras. If it was snow, or if it was anything, they would not be flying back up and down. Look at the movement of the orbs. Look at how they are floating around on the camera, up and down. Just pay attention to that. Do you see the demon face floating there on the top of the left side of the screen? Again, as I was recording it, I never saw it. It was right there the whole time, and I never saw it. I never did. I didn't know what I was looking at. You'll also see that the top of the screen says February of 2021. It was in February of 2021 that I went to go see my pastor with my computer. I went to his house real late at night. I knocked on the door, and he stood outside with me, and I told him that I believed that there were women being hurt and that my computer was doing something very strange. I'm going to write that down. Computer chatter. And he told me to get rid of the computer, and I came to him for help at that time. And in those days, I was not. He saw me that first time that I was dressed nicely. I was almost in my right mind, but I was still going through something crazy, and I didn't know what I was going through. And it was a few times after that incident when I saw him that late at night on his property. The next couple of times he saw me was like really, really, really bad. But when I came to him that first time, I was not completely out of my mind just yet. Now what you see here is the exact same footage, only I used a video pad, which is what I'm using to clip all of this stuff together. It's a software. It's called Video Pad by NC8 software. Um, it, I used that to slow that video down enough to catch this or turn into a man, a man. And if you have a hard time believing that, watch the video again. The snow doesn't move like this. Rain doesn't move like this. What else could it be? What else could it be? In those numbers, I mean, it's just wild. So, okay, so I'm 35 minutes in, and you hear that TV just turned on. The lady that I live with, she just woke up. She's an elderly woman. She's partially dead, partially blind. And I don't know if you can hear the TV turn on, but it's probably fixing to get very loud. And it's a distraction for me. I don't really like that in my videos, a loud television in the background. I just think that that's just stupid to do. So I'm out of time to finish this video. Um, it's something I deal with daily. But I will finish it tomorrow morning. I'll get up early again and I'll work on finishing this. But again, 35 minutes in, I don't want to lose your interest. People don't really watch really long videos, so that's why it's clipped in as well. All right. Thank you.